What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Justin Ford podcast, where I'll be releasing life-changing principles and valuable information focused on all things faith, finance, family, fitness, real estate, and so much more. Let's go! What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Justin Ford Unleashed podcast. Super excited to be with you here again today. Hopefully you've been doing great since the last episode. If you're loving the show, do me a favor. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button right here on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. And if you're really loving the show, go ahead and leave us a 5-star review. We absolutely love your feedback. If you haven't followed me yet on social media, you can at the official Justin Ford. Again, at the official Justin Ford. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, and also here on YouTube. Got another great episode in store for you today. But before we get into that, I want to remind you that this episode is brought to you by my friends over at Next Door Lending. Next Door Lending is a team of professionals that believe everyone should be treated as if they lived next door. The founders and team members have more than 150 years of combined experience helping clients all over the country choose the best loan program to help you accomplish your goals. Next Door Lending is currently licensed in 24 states and has a team of over 100 loan officers specializing in helping you get the best rate and terms. Whether you're looking to refinance your home or you're looking to purchase your next home, call my friends over at Next Door Lending today at 888-885-3667 or visit their website at nextdoorlending.com. Speaking of Next Door Lending, I actually have my friend, the president and one of the owners of Next Door Lending in the studio again today, Jonathon Haddad. What's up, my brother?
It's always a pleasure, man, especially kicking it with you. You always got to bring the best energy.
Oh, man, super excited to have you in today. So much to talk about.
Yep.
And you are very close to being a dad.
Yeah. First time father of two.
Two?
Twins coming on the way.
What a way to start being a dad.
I absolutely crushed it.
Wow, you did.
Yeah. And
you show up big for everything you do.
Thank God.
Including making 2 babies at once.
Yeah, and beautiful. Very, very fortunate. It's a boy and a girl. So
wow, that's so awesome.
Very excited. We're a couple months away. God willing, everything goes very smooth. Babies are healthy. Mama's healthy. So we're very excited for this.
That's exciting. It's we have 4, and I have a grandson, and
I still can't believe
I know it's so crazy. Me too. Every time I say it, it doesn't feel like I'm a grandpa. But I also often have people ask me, especially when they have their first, like, oh my gosh, how did you do it with 4? And I'm like, oh, it gets easier after the second one. And you're going to have the experience of 2 at once. And so that's exciting, man. A boy and a girl.
Yeah.
Some people shoot for if they have a boy the first time, like, oh, I want a girl. And if they have a girl, I want a boy. And you're getting both at the same time.
So fortunate. And it's so funny, too. Like, one of the things I told her is I said, hey, listen, because you hear all these stories where it's like, oh, they found a third one, So for the first 3 months, we kept going to check in. And I said, hey, keep checking. Because I told I told Lauren, I was like, listen, babe, we just can't be outnumbered. As long as it's 2 on 2, I like our odds. 3 on 2 starts to get dicey, but only 2 of them, so we're very, very blessed.
Have you come up with names yet?
Yes. So Eliana and Elias. Elias named after my father to tradition.
Yep.
And then Eliana Rain Haddad. And the reason why is I actually enjoy telling this part of it because I'm very big on names, like the meaning. But Eliana means God has answered.
That is
and
so
then
awesome.
Rain is REIGN.
Yeah.
So listen, God has answered, but now it's your time to reign over your life.
Wow.
And that's going to be her story. I'm going to tell her this is who you are as a person because I think one of the things as a kid, it's like you're always trying to find yourself.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to kind of have that imprint. I would have
Right.
loved to have that idea of this is why you're named the way you are. It should be so important. And that's why it's so important to me.
I love it, man. That's awesome. I'm excited for you to be a dad because I know you go all into everything that you do. So I can't wait to see the dad version of you. That's exciting, man.
We'll see, man. I'm getting more and more, not nervous, but it's to your point. And
it is okay to be nervous.
It is. And I definitely, it's there. It's more excitement, but it's funny because I got people like you. So I watch you operate, the time you spend with your family, your kids. I always see you posting. And I'm sure it took you time to kind of figure out how to wait, how do I balance this life of mine? Because I don't believe in a work-life balance. I just believe in a life balance. Mine just happens to include a lot of work.
Right, exactly.
As part of my balance. And for you, it's really nice to be around people where it's like, no, it's not that you have it figured out, but you got a pretty good play.
Yeah. And it does take time, and it never looks the same. There's no like blueprint or cookie cutter of what it looks like. It's just you and your family figuring out what that looks like. And I know you're going to do a great job of that.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. I feel good.
Yeah. So it's been a few months since you were on the show. Last time you
Yep.
came on with Sean, we were talking about the diversity inclusion, that you guys are doing. Sean's doing a phenomenal job with that. We've got a great event coming up in September. That's going to be the Black Agent Expo,
Yes.
which is going to be phenomenal. Can't wait to be a part of that. But a lot is going on in the mortgage market, right? And what I love about what you guys are doing at Next Door Lending is, I think it was when, we shot our first episode, which was at towards the end of last year.
Yep.
When things were starting to change. It was you and Doug that came in. And we've heard the stories of a lot of people leaving the industry, right? Companies closing their doors, people going to get regular jobs. And you and Doug were like, we're actually pushing the pedal down harder, and we're going forward even more. How have things been going over the last several months, in the industry, and also what you guys are doing at Next Door Lending?
Yeah, listen, I'll break it down for you into, two parts here, like you were stating. So with the company, it's very important right now to continue to invest, and that's what we've been doing.
Yep.
So we have been continuing to grow as much as we possibly can. We've been taking our money and reinvesting it all back into the organization, focusing on technology, focusing on processing, trying to just build something really special to prepare us for what's to come.
Yeah.
So it's very important to double down on that, in my opinion. It's like, can you run scared? I don't believe in running scared, right? We're going to go all in on what we believe in. We're going to live and die by this sword. It's just something we do believe in as a company.
Right.
We're going to continue to reinvest. Are we perfect? Absolutely not. We're a 4-year-old company. This is the first time we've dealt with something like this.
Right.
But I feel very good about the way we're handling it and maneuvering through.
I love about what you said of really doubling down in this shift or this changing market. I was listening to a podcast recently, and on the podcast, they were talking about how in down markets, if you look at the last 100 years, those that went like all in during a down market or doubled down or invested more when everybody else was kind of running scared, when the market changes, which it will, when the market improves, which it will, you're so much further ahead of everybody else, because so many people pull back because they're unsure, or they're like, I'm not willing to kind of double down and go all in. And then they try to come back into the market when it's good. Whereas what you guys are doing, you're going to be 100 steps ahead of everybody else.
And even a step further, I've been at this for a decade now.
Yep.
And the way I've learned, I've been very fortunate to work with some of the most high-level individuals. And I've been fortunate to interview over 50 millionaires and 2 billionaires that all deal with real estate.
Yep.
And this is the truth. And I mark everything down. I take a ton of notes. You know what a common theme is? Because I say, listen, back in 2008, what's one thing you would have done different? You want to know the common theme with all of them? I swear to you.
Yeah.
I wish I would have held on more to my assets in real estate.
Wow.
I swear to you, every one of them. Everyone says this time around, these same guys that I still in contact with, you know what they're doing right now? Yeah. Buying left and right.
Right.
I'm like, the rate, they don't care.
Right.
They're waiting. They're like, John, this is what I would have done in 08. Now I'm just going to do it again this time around.
Yeah.
Because this time around, it's so much better. We're much more protected than we ever have been. Mm-hmm. So they even feel better about it. And that's the common thread from these millionaires and 2 billionaires. I always say that's my favorite thing to say, but that's the common theme.
Yeah. And you do, when you get around people who are at a higher level, who had a little bit more experience, they look at things differently. They see things differently. They approach things differently. And I remember back in 08, I was in the mortgage business, and I remember then shifting over to short sales and loan modifications. And I remember people were doing everything that they could to sell off their properties. They were doing short sales. They were letting them go to foreclosure rather than figuring out a way to hold on. And I remember Dave Ramsey back during that period of time bought like $100 million worth of real estate or something like that. He said he was buying everything that he possibly could because everything was on fire sale. You could get stuff pennies on the dollar. Houses that were selling for $100,000 back then are like $400,000. It's crazy. And so how long is this market? We know that there's some, this isn't forever. And I know you guys keep your ear to the pavement to know what's going on. Where do you see the rest of this year going and then into 2024?
Yeah, so here's what's fortunate about our side, being on the mortgage side. We work with some of the top companies in the country, if not the top company in the top company in the country. So
what company is it?
United Wholesale Mortgage.
It's right on the shirt.
Over
there
here.
it is.
Thank you, WM. Love all of you. Matt, Danny, Alan. Love you guys.
Yep.
And when you have that much money, right? They're a publicly traded company, so you know what they have, right? They're $1 billion organization. Billion. Yeah. That's a B. Okay. Yeah. So all I have to do is listen and watch what they're doing.
Yeah.
So if they're hiring processors, if they're hiring more underwriters, what's that tell you? That just means they're preparing for what's to come next.
Yeah.
And so the data, the way it's indicating right now, it's at Q1 of next year is when you're going to start to see a dip in interest rates. Mm-hmm. Right now, we're going to be continuing to deal with the storm for the rest of this year. That's just the reality of the situation.
And they've capped the storm, right? They're not going higher on the rates?
So right now, no, they've capped it at where they're at. Powell came out, he did mention that, hey, listen, if inflation, the whole talk, if it continues to rise, we will have to raise interest rates.
Okay.
They're trying to avoid it because of the banking institution. Mm-hmm. So we have a fractionalized banking system, which means they're literally borrowing money with money that's not there,
right?
Which is how the U.S. banking system works.
Crazy.
So that's what they're concerned with. They want to make sure there is no potential banking collapse, which they've done a good job. The bigger banks have bailed out the smaller banks.
Yep.
So that's what happens when you saw like Silicon Valley Bank, who they basically said, hey, we don't have the money to pay off Roku. Roku had $300 million with them. They didn't have the money to give. So these big banks said, okay, we got you. Here's the money. Yep. Could you imagine if we could do that if we missed a credit card payment?
Jeez,
we can't, God forbid that happens, but you get the point. So they lent them the money. They're good. They're protected. So they're going to try and hold off on that as much as they can. If the numbers don't come down, they will raise them. That's the reality of it. So we've seen most of the worst. Could there be a little bit more of an uptick, maybe a quarter point, half a point increase? That is true. What we're seeing, though, with the increases is what consumers don't understand. A lot of them, sorry, let me not make the general statement. What a lot of people don't get.
Right.
Your credit cards that you're paying on that used to be 0% interest, they change every year. You actually, when you sign up for a credit card, you electronically consent that your rate changes.
Right.
It changes based off of what the banks can borrow money at.
Yeah.
So if they're borrowing at 8%, they're not going to give it to you at 8%.
Right.
So what we're seeing right now, which is something that they were going to try and offset, is we're seeing consumer debt rise.
Oh, big time.
Because their payments were $80 on $5,000 in debt. Now that same payment is $300.
Right.
So that's what we're seeing a lot more of. And so you're going to start to see rates towards Q1 start to come down. My prediction is March. So you heard it here first. I'm saying March. That's my guess. And you'll start to see us dip pretty low under 6.
Yeah.
And then I believe towards the end of next year, so end of 2024, you're going to see rates back in the mid to low 4s.
Nice.
Is what you'll see. So we don't got much left of this, but it's around the corner.
Yeah. And it's and for those that are new, that have only been in the industry for the last handful of years, and all you've known is a good market, whether you're on the loan side or you're on the real estate side, people panic. And I know when I speak like in a conference or, I speak in front of people and I ask, how many of you guys have been in the industry 10 years or less? Everybody raises their hand. A lot of people came into this market when it's great. And when the market shifts, which it always will, there's never been a great market forever. It all is cyclical. It goes up and it goes down. And what makes, a great company or a great individual move through it is pivoting and adjusting when the market pivots and adjusts, because we know it's going to change and it's going to come out on the other side as a win. And so you guys aren't like pulling back. You're continuing to move forward. You're in 24 states now, and you said there's how many more you guys are opening up in?
We're going into 12 more currently. So we're in process for 12 more at the moment.
So you'll be at 36 states.
Yeah, God willing.
In the next
end of the year, hopefully.
Wow.
That's the game plan. And, the other portion of it too, Justin, and here's what I've been telling a lot of consumers, and we're a heavy purchase company. So of our business, we're on pace to do a little under 800 million this year.
That's
which
amazing.
is thank God. It would be our biggest year ever as a company.
Wow. In a market that's shifting and people are getting out.
Yeah, and we're focused heavy on purchase.
Yeah.
And we're 70% purchase right now as an organization, which is an amazing feeling to have.
Yep.
But the reason why is we're also teaching our people how to have conversations to help our agents out.
Yeah.
And one of those conversations is what I talked about, consumer debt. Because there's a lot of people we talk to, and we've been fortunate to work with you, for example. You send us over a client to get pre-approved.
Yeah.
And we have the combo, and it's the same story every time for all clients, right? Well, rates are high, like our payments are going to go up. Our job as a professional is to analyze their entire situation.
Yeah.
So I go through the entire credit report of that consumer. Because here's the reality. What did we just talk about? Rates are doing what for everything? Your credit card debt, everything.
It's all
going up.
Yeah.
Your car, your boats, your RVs,
Not
whatever
just
it
your
is.
mortgage.
Yes.
It's
all
everything.
rates are.
Yeah.
Your job as a consumer is one thing and one thing only: to pay the least amount of interest possible on a monthly basis. Period. And that's not, I'm not like a financial advisor.
Right.
Go online, go talk to any, they'll all tell you the same thing.
Yep.
So what's the reality of the situation? Your house is potentially worth the most it's worth right now.
Right now.
And so if you have all this equity in place and you're thinking about moving, but your concern is the payment might go up, really assess your situation. That's what I teach my loan officers. If they have $60,000 in credit card debt now, right?
Yep.
And that debt, if you really break it down, is at anywhere between 15 and 30%.
Yeah.
You're never paying that debt down.
Never.
If your car goes up to 8%, whatever the case may be, that's going to take time before you can pay it down.
Crazy.
So your goal needs to be to pay the least amount of interest possible.
Yep.
So it might make sense for consumers. Yes, your payment might go up on the new home, but if you sell your home and you pay off that credit card debt, in the grand scheme of things, you're paying what? Less on interest.
Absolutely.
And then the idea is it is a cyclical market. This isn't like you and I pretending to be experts here.
Right.
This is history.
Right, yeah.
Just go look at the data. It
it.
doesn't lie to you. Go
Right.
look at the last 60 to 70 years.
Exactly.
And so when rates do come down, you've paid off your credit card debt.
Yep.
Yeah, you're paying 6.5% on your mortgage now.
Right.
But then rates come down and what? You refinance, you don't have debt anymore, and now you're paying less on your home.
Yep.
And there you're in the house that you wanted to actually get for you and your family and weren't concerned with rates and where they're at. So talk to the right people and analyze your situation and stop being afraid of the rate on your home, because the rate on your home doesn't matter if you're paying 15-30% interest on all this credit card debt.
What I love about you, John, and what you guys are doing at Next Door Lending is you're not just the typical loan officer just issuing a pre-approval just to issue one. You're looking at the big picture. And when you were in our team meeting not too long ago, you came in and you had an example that you shared with our team, because there's a lot of loan officers out there. For those that are listening right now, if you're a mortgage or a real estate agent, there's a lot of options out there of who you can use. If you're a buyer, and you're looking to get pre-approved, there's so many options out there to get a pre-approval, but you need to make sure you're working with the right loan officer, the right company with the experience to make sure that you as a consumer or you as an agent are setting up your buyer for the best overall scenario possible. And I want you to share, because when you came in and you opened up that email and you kind of broke down, talk about that scenario and what you were able to do for that person.
Yeah, listen, we
Powerful.
had, first of all, thank you for even sharing that. And that's one of the things too. The other thing too I want to mention is whenever you're working with an agent or loan officer, it's the feedback as well.
Right.
The thing I love about our relationship is we're so candid with our feedback. And there's no excuses, right? Hey, you're right. I dropped the ball on this. I got you. Let me fix it.
It's like, how can we get better?
Yeah, and that's the relationship,
That's the relationship.
right? And that's what makes it easier with the growth from it. And the situation you're talking about specifically is I had a couple clients who they were very excited. They wanted to move for their kids. And the reason they want to move for their kids is a better school district. Right now they're having to drive. It's out of the way from where they're driving at. It takes up about an hour a day in terms of their time.
Yeah.
That time really adds up. An hour a day for the school year. I mean, how long is that school year, right?
Yeah.
So call that 6, 7, 8 months, whatever the case may be. That's an hour a day for 180 days potentially. All right. That's a lot of hours to be losing. So they had a really strategic goal, very well put together family. They had a lot of stuff going on. Their current rate on their home is in the mid threes on their home. And they said, listen, as long as the payment doesn't go up X amount, we'd be comfortable with it. So I said, okay, no problem. Let me just take a look. So I pull the credit. I go through everything with the client. And I'm talking to my agent about this too. So I call my agent. I explain, hey, listen, here's the situation. Here's what's going on. So I pull the credit and I go through their entire financial profile. They told me the number that they wanted their payment to go to. I was about $300 over that number they wanted to go.
Yeah.
So then I started doing the math on their credit card debt. And I started adding it up. And I said, hey, when did these payments go up? And they're like, oh, what do you mean? I said, well, I know they've gone up. I can tell. I can see like the interest has gone up. Like, oh my gosh, probably 8 months ago. Yeah, now that I think about it, these payments have gotten a lot more difficult to handle. So I was like, well, if we can handle these credit cards with the equity that you have in your home, potentially, is that something you'd be interested in looking at? They were like, we never really thought about that. I said, all right, let's break it down. We literally got all their rates for every credit card that they have. And I'm not kidding. The reason I said 15 to 30 is that was the range of these credit card debt.
Right.
And it was about $50,000 to $60,000 in credit card debt. So,
and that's just balance. That's not including if you just made minimum payments.
Yes,
and the interest
that was
would be
the minute.
over,
Yes,
be over 100,000.
We just looked at their minimum payments, which is interest.
Right.
Okay. I'm like, you're not even paying the principal down.
Crazy.
You're literally paying. You are working so hard, and I know you are with your family and your kids. You're going to work every single day simply to pay the minimum amount on your credit card
and never get ahead.
That's not right. You're going to do that what for the next year?
Yep.
That's not a way to live.
No.
You have an opportunity to do something.
Right.
They had about $150,000 in equity on their home.
Yeah.
Their current home. So we structured it to where, yes, your payment's going up where you want or past what you wanted, but then we added just the minimum payments on their credit cards to their current mortgage. With my new mortgage versus what they're paying right now between their mortgage and their credit cards, I was $500 a month cheaper.
Wow.
$500 simply by them selling the home, paying off that debt, and by the way, getting them into their dream home on top of it.
Right.
Getting them into their dream home on top of it.
Yep.
I'm making your life better.
Yeah.
I'm shaving an hour a day off for you.
Yep.
You're in a school district you want to be in. You're saving $500 a month. Who cares about the rate? You know it's coming down.
Right.
You got to get yourself out of this debt situation.
That's so awesome.
And that's what helped. And now the consumers, they're not worried about the payment being $300 higher than what they wanted.
Yeah.
They're now excited because, oh my God, we can get some burden. I've been in that spot, and I know you have too.
Yep.
When these debt collectors, that bills are piling up, I've been there before, man. It hurts your soul. Just
really
that
does.
burden being gone feels so good.
And this is key, especially for my real estate agents who are listening right now. When you are trying to help, your seller sell, and they're like, well, the interest rate's too high, and I want to wait till interest rates come down. Having a conversation with them, or having someone like you, John, have a conversation with them and look at the bigger picture. Yeah, they might be going from a 3% rate to a 6% rate, but if there's these, like you just said, all these different things going on that they're paying on, and they can reduce their overall debt and their overall payments, it's not about the interest rate. And the good thing about an interest rate on a house is it's amortized over 30 years.
And it's tax deductible.
And you can refinance, whereas like a credit card, you can't refinance a credit card.
It's not
the
tax
rates might
deductible.
go up and down, but this is huge, because I think I saw a statistic, and you'd know better than me. I think I saw something yesterday that said 90% of the homes that have loans on them in the United States are below 4%. 90% of loans have below interest rates of 4%.
Yeah, listen, we're seeing it every single day.
And so somebody to think they're going from 4 to 6, if it's just a standard conversation, no, it doesn't make sense for someone to do that unless there's a big reason. But when you can come alongside of them and you can show them like, hey, even though you're going up on your interest rate, your overall debt payment's going down, you're in the school district you want, you're in the house that you want, and that stress that you were carrying is alleviated. I love that.
And Justin, I mean,
it's huge.
The biggest thing is like separating the emotion for the client and
have
helping
to.
them understand it.
Yeah.
And so I tell them this all the time. I'm like, listen, let's get rid of the emotion about your 4% rate, your 3.5 for just a second. I said, just a second. Imagine you're talking to a friend and you're consulting a friend.
Right.
All I want you to do is write down your debt. Okay? Here's the debt with your current situation. Write down your new payment over here. Just looking at it like that, just your two eyes looking at it.
Yep.
Here's all the rates added up on this side. Add your 3.5% mortgage. Add your 15% credit card. Add it all together. Get your effective rate. Get your payment. And then here's your new payment. From a logical standpoint, you as a consumer, if you're looking at one, that who cares if this is at 4% for your home,
right,
and this is at 6%, your payment's $500 cheaper here.
Right.
If you're consulting your friend, what are you going to tell them to do?
The right thing.
The right thing.
Period.
The right thing.
Absolutely.
What are you doing? You're paying $500 extra a month right now, $6,000 a year, just so you can make the minimum payment?
And that's not even including the stress.
Yeah, forget
and
the
work
stress.
of showing and making payments for nothing. It's not going anywhere.
No, and that's the conversation people are afraid to have because a lot of loan officers, they see the rate and they get discouraged about having that conversation.
Yeah.
I am not a financial advisor, nor do I pretend to be.
Right.
But I have a great amortization schedule,
right,
a great Excel spreadsheet that does the math for me. It's very logical. That's all it is.
And that's why I work with you, John, and I entrust you with all the buyers that I work with, is because not only do I know that they're going to get great customer service, but they're going to get the best scenario possible. It's not just, there's a lot of loan companies out there that are just, they just issue pre-approvals. And these guys are entry level into the business. They have no experience whatsoever. They put the numbers in, they run a credit report, they send out a pre-approval letter, And that's it. Whereas you and your team are taking time to really dive in and really look at things. And if you come to me and say, Justin, I can't make it happen, I know you've looked at every single avenue to make it happen, which I don't think you've ever told me you couldn't make it happen. Because there's always a way that you guys find to make it happen. Yeah. But I know that you're crossing all your T's, you're dotting all your I's and beyond. And that's what I love about working with you guys. And so I appreciate that about you.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's been a pleasure working with you.
So that's great. I appreciate you giving that update. But I wanted to talk about you and I, right? And we're both unashamed to share this. We both see counselors, yep. Right? You have a therapist, I have a counselor, same thing. And what I love about that, and I've shared that on the show before, is it's the ability to tap in and discover things that when we get so busy in the world and the world beats us up and we're constantly on the go that we miss certain things. And what I love about my counselor is this guy, I can say, hey, man, this is what I'm going through, or this is what I'm experiencing. And he knows how to literally show me exactly where this thing is or where this thing's coming from and how to look at it totally different. And I leave those sessions just like so motivated and ready to go. But you and I were having a conversation that I'd love to chat about that you've kind of recently discovered that I think is amazing.
Yeah, first of all, you're spot on. I am not ashamed at all anymore, and that's been part of my growth and journey. Yeah. His name is Matt Schwartz, amazing guy, 15 years, and really focuses on the brain. For me, what I struggled with growing up, it's like I always wanted to just like fit in, right? But when you're always trying to fit in, you don't make your own moral compass. Right. And when you don't make your own moral compass, it's hard to understand who you are as a human being. Yeah. And so he's really helped figure that out for me because I know what I'm great at. I know what I'm good at doing. And he's helped me just understand it from my brain perspective, how to actually put it into effect. And one of the things we were talking about your authentic self. And I was like, whenever you hear that, at first I heard it, I'm like, okay, authentic, here we go. You're going to give me this Tony Robbins. Not that I don't mind it, but I'm like, you're my, like, help me out, okay? Right, I don't need this. I'll be yourself. Yeah. But then he starts explaining, and I'm like, oh, wait a second. This is different. And here's what he said to me. He goes, listen, do you remember being like a kid? And he goes, I don't mean like 5. I mean like 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. I'm like, yeah. He goes, do you remember what you used to love to do? And I said, yeah. And he's like, well, what'd you love to do? I said, I used to love to get new CDs or cassettes at the time. Actually, my dad would buy me these cassettes.
I remember those.
Yep. And my dad had this big like setup in the basement, and I would get the cassette that I wanted to listen to. I'd put the cassette in, I'd put these big headphones on, and I would sit there and just listen. And it felt so good because I got to like lose in my imagination, and I miss being in my imagination. Yeah. And he goes, when's the last time you did that? And I said, I haven't. Wow. And he goes, do you want to try that? And I said, yeah, why don't I try it? So I'll never forget, literally, that same day I go and I do that, and I literally just zone out, and I'm just listening to music, and I'm sitting down. I was literally in my basement, and I just turn on music, and I'm just relaxing. And I start smiling, almost start crying because it was so nostalgic, the feeling that I had. And he goes, that's the version of you got to get back towards. And so it made me start thinking about my childhood. And I'm talking like 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, really impactful stuff that you remember a lot more of as a kid. Yep. And I'm thinking about all the things I used to enjoy. It's like, okay, I used to like playing basketball. So yesterday, late yesterday at like 9 p.m., my neighbor has a basketball hoop. So I go out and start shooting hoops. He's letting me shoot hoops. And I'm like, man, this feels kind of good. I haven't done this in so long. Yeah. And I started just going back to things I liked to do when I was a little younger. And I was like, my God, this works. So I hit up Matt, and I'm like, dude, I don't know what it is. He goes, John, this is the part that people forget so much about. Wow. And man, it has made me think, and even connecting with my people now. I've been talking to my team about this now. When in our one-on-ones, I go, hey, what did you love to do as a kid? And they're like, what are you talking about? I said, just like when you were 12, 13, 14. And now what do we have on our team? It's amazing. I have people now sharing like pictures when they were 15, 16. They're like, this is me playing football. This is me doing this. This is me doing. My team's getting excited. We're now sharing stuff from our childhood, and everyone's getting, because it's like, wait, that's the version I want to know. Give me that. Yeah. Because you haven't been, I don't want to use the word broken, but the world hasn't taken over just yet. Yeah. And so you have to learn to like, yes, you have to deal with the world, but how do you get back to that authentic version of you? And I'll ask you the same question. Yeah. Like, what's Justin Ford's authentic version? Not 18-year-old Justin, right? Going through what he's doing. Right. But 12, 13, like what did you love?
I remember, so my son Judah, he's 10. And so what's awesome is when I see him, and I've seen him growing up for the last 10 years, I envision me. I see his creativity. I see him get all, excited about things. I remember when he was probably 3 or 4, And I remember seeing him like play with his cars and his trucks on the ground, and he would be drawn into this story of what's taking place. And I remember being that when I was a kid. I remember, building a fort, when I was a kid, and climbing trees and pretending you were just on an excursion or something along those lines, or riding bikes in the trails behind the golf course and the where the creek is, and just how adventurous that was. And what's interesting is one of my first mentors, probably 12 years ago, he started to bring a lot of those things out. And he said, when you find yourself showing up authentically, what does that version of yourself look like? And I'll help you take it a step further, John, is he said, name it. What is that version of yourself? And there was this one, there is this one version of me called Mr. Adventure. Like going on these adventures and like, doing these things that kind of bring me back to when I was a kid. When you're not worrying about credit card debt, you're not worrying about mortgage interest payments, you're not worrying about being successful or being accepted or what other people think about you. You're just like living life and loving it. And so for me, it's being able to do those things. Like recently I've been playing tennis with Tiara, my daughter, and I haven't played a lot of sports as an adult, but one of the things that I remember when I played basketball or baseball or soccer, whatever we did in the neighborhood, I loved showing up and just being competitive, and it like did something in me. So I remember a few weeks ago when I was playing tennis with Tiara, that version of myself showed up, and I said, man, I miss this. And now playing tennis with my daughter once a week is the thing I look forward to the most.
Man, see, that's so beautiful. And it's crazy. I was going to share this with you. So I've been getting close with my journey back to God, right?
Yeah.
And it's been really cool and fascinating. And so I've been working with Pastor Brian Jones, who runs, he's on the Impact Network, which is...
I'm actually meeting with him today.
He's amazing.
It's my buddy.
He's amazing. We just got on a call. So he's helping me with a couple things. He wants me to help him with a few things. But I've just been getting closer and closer and closer. And one of the things I tell people is this, like what I'm learning, getting back, downloaded like the Bible app for me, right? And whatever your religion is, just get closer to it.
Yep.
But here's what I'm learning about any religion, okay? Anything.
Yeah.
I don't care if you read the Quran, if you read the Bible, if you're a Buddhist, if you're Jewish, it doesn't matter.
Right.
What do people always talk about when they talk about faith?
Yeah.
They talk about the stories.
Yeah.
Because they that's what they remember. They remember stories. And they like to share those stories to help you understand what's happening in your life.
Yep.
So when I started to learn that more, I go, wait a second. If for thousands of years, stories have kept these religions going and going and building and stronger and a bigger foundation, why do we stop sharing stories? Why don't we share them?
That's good.
Why don't we share them?
Yeah.
Because how else am I going to get closer to you without sharing my story?
Right.
And the biggest reason is, you said it early, right? We're not ashamed anymore.
Right.
Because I had to learn to work through that shame. I used to think if I would share my, me dealing, and I use the word dealing, not suffer, because I don't think I suffer. I think there are people that truly do suffer.
Yeah.
But me dealing with my mental health issues, right? I was like, oh my God, if I share this, someone's going to use it against me.
Right.
I don't want someone to know about this.
Or will somebody see me in a different light because I'm, this go-getter, successful guy, and if I share this weakness, then how does that make me look in other people's eyes?
Yeah, and now it's like, I don't care because my story, you know what it's done for me? I've connected with you.
Yep.
I've connected with Sean.
Yep.
I have such stronger relationships now by what?
Yeah.
Just being honest
And
with
sharing
people.
your story.
And Judd, look, here's what I'm dealing with. Here's how I struggle. I text you, hey man, I'm just having a bad day.
Yeah.
Right.
And we pray.
And we pray. And it's like, because I'm sharing it. And by the way, here's the biggest thing too. Share it with the right people.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, please share it with the right people.
Yep.
You want to share stuff like that with people that want to see you win.
Yeah.
And that to me has been the biggest help. And it's like, why not share more with each other?
Yeah. No, I love that. And, even going back to having that, that childlike faith, even Jesus talks about, he references to be like little children again. And the reason why is because little children, they don't really have the cares of the world. They don't really care what other people think. They're just showing up in faith. They're just believing. Like if you tell a kid, they just come up with all sorts of creativity and things where they really have faith to believe something, and they haven't been told things, or they haven't been, there's no doubt yet, And so I love that we can still tap into that today. Like even in the midst of all the stuff that we experience, we can still find that younger version of ourselves and choose to tap into that and show up in that. And I believe that as we spend more time doing that, then we can show up better for the people around us.
Man, you hit that so well. And to even take that even a step further, you know, I'll never forget when I found out we're having kids, right? I was so excited. And it made me more motivated and inspired. And somebody told me this, and I want to share it with you too. They were like, you know what's crazy? Like, what do you want for your kids? You want everything for your kids, right?
Everything.
But for yourself, why do you want less? For your kids, you want perfect, right? Oh, they got to do this. They're going to be regimented. But for you, we want less.
Right.
Right? We don't hold ourselves to the same standards we hold our kids to.
Wow.
And I'm like, wait, I don't want to do that to my kids, right? It's like, okay, if I'm going to tell my kids to eat healthy and work out, their dad needs to eat healthy and work out.
Period.
Because
they're going to see
you, period.
And you're going to be their biggest influence.
And it started hitting me more and more. And I'm not perfect by any means, and I'm working on it. But it's like, wait, I'm holding this little human being to this crazy standard because I just want them to like be as perfect as possible. But here I am going like, oh, I'm not going to wake up early to go to the gym today.
Right.
We can't do that.
Yeah.
You have to be able to honor that across the board.
Have to.
With your children, with people in your life, man. And it's really been hitting me hard. And now that the last part for me, and you do a good job of this, is like now I got to get better at like creating certain boundaries.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my next step in my journey.
And I know you and I are going to have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
You know, just, you're growing not only a company, but you're growing your own personal team.
Yeah.
You guys are crushing it.
Yes.
And just like I came back into production and growing a team in the beginning of the year, I remember and you called me and you said, dude, I'm going back into production and I'm growing a team. And I said, let's go.
Yep.
And that's there's a lot of responsibility with that. There's a lot of weight with that, and it's so important to have those boundaries, and not to be ashamed of them, or not to feel bad about them, because I think that it also goes back to, why do we want more for our kids but not for ourselves? Because we've been told that wanting more for ourselves is selfish and it's wrong, and that's not true. That's not true.
No.
Right? And how can we be great for our team if we're not great for ourselves? How can we lead, a spouse or kids if we're not great for ourselves? It has to start with us. That's why they say on the airplane, if the oxygen masks fall down, make sure you put your mask on first, because you can't help somebody else if you're dying or can't breathe or you're running out of steam. So it's important to focus on yourself.
It's the mindset too. Like what people don't, I'm not going to say everybody. One of the most difficult things to understand is, and the best way to correlate it is for those with family, right, with kids, families. There's your mindset has to be so powerful as a leader of anything, whether it's of your family, whether it's of your team. You're not allowed to have a bad or off day,
right?
Which that responsibility is so difficult to bear sometimes because we want to have a bad day sometimes.
Yeah,
I know you do. I know I do. Sometimes, man, I don't want to talk about real estate, right? Sometimes I don't want to take that phone call. I don't want to pick up that phone.
Right.
I don't want to have that conversation. But guess what? Your team, they don't care.
No,
and they shouldn't either. Right. That's not their job.
Yep.
You said I will lead you.
Yep.
I will lead you. Which means if I'm going to lead you, I need to lead you.
Yep.
So that mindset piece is so important and not to be deterred with.
Right.
And to create that boundary and infrastructure. And it's like, where does that come from for you, right? It's like, how do you even start when building a team? Like, where do you facilitate? How do you structure it?
Right.
And how do you make sure people are always inside those lines?
Yeah. No, I love it, man. And, when you think of being a leader, right? So many people see the glitz and the glamour of being a leader, but they don't understand the behind the scenes. And one of my coaches, her name's Kate Simon over at Clever U, she gave me permission to take a self-care day. She said, Justin, I want you to put on your calendar 1 to 2 days a month where you don't talk about real estate, where you don't answer calls. It's not even about your family that day. It's all about you. Go do you for an entire day, so that you can reset, so that you can recharge, and you can go back out there and crush it. So I give you permission. Pick a couple of days a week or a couple of days a month, whatever, for John Haddad and only you.
I love that.
And just make it all about you and go do whatever it is. Go on the walk, go on the bike ride, go do whatever it is so that you can focus on you, so that you can come back and be a better you.
Thank you. I love that. Thank you.
Sir.
That was awesome.
Well, I know we could keep going,
Yep.
but man, I always appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you for all you do, not only in the business, but also as a friend and a leader. It's definitely appreciated.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you for everything.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode. I always love having John here on the show. And always want to remind you guys that this episode is brought to you by Next Door Lending, not just because they sponsor the show, but because this is who we send our buyers to. This is who we work with. And obviously here on the show, you heard today why. It's more than just issuing a pre-approval. It's about putting our clients' best needs first. And if you need a professional to help you do that, if you want a great representation to help you get the job done, call my friends over at Next Door Lending. If you're a buyer looking to get pre-approved and you want this type of representation, call my friends over at Next Door Lending. If you are a real estate agent looking for a great real estate company to partner with or a mortgage company to partner with, guys, call my friends over at Next Door Lending today, 888-885-3667, or visit their website at nextdoorlending.com. Two things I always like to leave you with here on the show. Number one, it's not how you start. What matters is how you finish. And number two, with God, all things are possible. God bless you guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.